The Western Cape High Court has ordered that Public Enterprises Minister Pravin Gordhan and his department provide Toto Investment Holdings with all the confidential documents pertaining to a decision to sell a 51% stake of South African Airways. The court, however, turning down Toto's application to halt the sale of the shares. We're joined now by aviation expert Phuthego Mojapele. Thank you for your time tonight, Phuthego. Firstly, Toto took this matter to court because they felt that the deal with Takatso was unfair, and it's really the transparency issue that we've had calls being made for from several sectors of society that will be dealt with by these documents having to be made, having to be submitted to the courts, although not really fully part of the public record.
Yes, certainly. I think it is important that this matter needs to be ventilated outside so that people can have trust in the processes of awarding those shares, 51% stake onto SAA. I think what Toto did here was an issue of, it was a principle that they have done here to say, we did not trust how you have handled this whole matter, and therefore we think the court would be an appropriate platform to ventilate our displeasure in the manner in which you have dealt with this issue. And I think they did very well by approaching the court so that the court can be able to assist them in getting those records to see what really transpired on that deal. Because it is concerning, to be quite honest with you, Kathy, to have a situation where almost everybody in the industry, it's crying to say, we don't understand how did you get to this stage, and we really need to know. But here is the court now pronouncing to say, let them have these records so that they can satisfy themselves whether they are going to make it public to us, those that were not part of the court proceedings, because there were other parties that were also interested parties on the court proceedings as well.
Look, part of what we've seen is that there's been not only the issue of confidentiality that has been emphasized by the courts, that it is only those that are participating in this case that will be able to access the documents, but they too, will be operating under a non-disclosure. But it certainly does take us a step further in terms of what could be in those documents that speaks to the process that was followed and the extent to which that is able to withstand scrutiny. Do you foresee a situation where, depending on, of course, what is in those documents, the sale of SAA, the sale of that 51% stake rather of SAA, could itself face further contestation, despite the fact that Toto did not win in halting the process of that transaction in court today?
I don't think that, Kathy, it is the end of this issue, to be quite honest with you. Remember, yesterday there was also another story that came out about the suspended Director General, who had also deposed an affidavit that was really damning on the part of the department, and particularly the minister here, Mr. Tlhakudi, where he was, saying quite a lot of things that made him not to be part of the whole transaction, how it was handled. In actual fact, he said quite a lot of things that we were not privy to, that we actually, for the first time, we had it on the publications. And I think with the court pronouncements today to say they can only be given to these parties and they will also keep it to themselves as a non-NDA, I think what would happen here is that at the Labour Court, we will be able to get the essence of this secrecy around
All right, unfortunately, it looks like we've lost Phuthego Mojapele there, who is an aviation expert. Collett Manaka is an attorney with Werkmans attorneys, and that's a legal firm that is representing Takatso consortium. Collett, good evening.
Good evening, and
Yes.
good evening to the viewers.
You wanted an opportunity to weigh into this conversation.
Kathy, although I didn't catch most of what Mr. Mojapele said, but I can explain briefly what the judgment means and what the order that was granted today.
Go ahead.
And if I may start on the basis of what the application was all about. In review applications, as the legal experts will know, under Rule 53 of the Uniform Rules of Court, the party whose decision is being challenged is supposed to provide a record of the proceedings that led to the decision that was taken. Now, what Toto actually challenged in the matter that ended up with the judgment and order today is that firstly, the record provided by the department was not complete, and therefore they sought an order to compel the department to provide the missing record. Part of what was being sought by Toto is confidential information that pertains to parties like the Takatso, that is commercial information, which cannot be shared with competitors. And therefore, a confidentiality regime was proposed to Toto, by the Department of Public Enterprises to provide such information under that confidentiality regime so that the advisors, the legal advisors and the court can have access thereto. But confidential information of a commercial nature cannot be shared with competitors, especially where the order sought is to try and reverse the decision that was taken and the process to start afresh. You can imagine the travesty that will happen under those circumstances. So we should not misconstrue what the confidentiality regime and the record that was sought is all about. The second aspect of what was sought by Toto is to interdict the process. But that in law, you need to meet certain requirements which Toto did not meet. Firstly, the review application that was launched is way out of time. And when they brought that application, they did not even ask for this interdict. They waited for 2 months more to bring this application to interdict the process. So that is what was dismissed in court today. So all the other aspects which I got at the end of just before Mr. Mojapele was cut off or lost connection, relates to there's no basis to go beyond what the process was all about this time around. And all the allegations that he's referring to insofar as the labor court is concerned, that has to do with the labor employment and suspension of the former DG. It does not say that the process, that the deal was wrong, but he makes certain allegations that in respect of which he says it's possible that his disagreements on some aspects of this deal, which he's not saying he disagreed with completely, may have been part of what led to his suspension.
Sure, and Collett, that's part of why the court has now asked for this full record, so that it can also see for itself what is contained in these documents and assess the extent to which Toto would have an argument.
Well, the process is in this way, Kate. Before, what happens is the record is for the applicant to supplement whatever grounds they have. So it's not like the court is going to be kept out of that or not see the record. They were going to see the record. The only contention was in where there are confidential aspects within that record, there's a confidentiality regime where the representatives sign confidentiality undertakings that they will not share that with the public and with competitors, but the court will have that access. So it's not like the court asked for it. The department had offered that before, and Toto had said no to it. And now the court has just confirmed that what the department had offered under a confidentiality regime is what is correct. And that confidentiality regime is part of the order that was granted today.
All right, let's leave it there for tonight. Phuthego, perhaps there's a chance for you to come in before we wrap up.
Yeah, I think like I said, I'm not a lawyer and I wouldn't really want to vent into the legal matters that I don't understand. But here is about the industry and the processes that we felt that were not adequately addressed for us in the industry, because what we need is transparency. What we need is equal treatment, so that those that want to be part of the SAA should have been given a fair opportunity, so that we should not be sitting at the corners and gossiping about how other people manage to get the stake into this thing. It is important. And like I said on my statement, that if Mr. Tlakudi's statement gets into that, that can also help us to have an understanding whether that can be used at the court or not. It is immaterial at the moment, but what we need is to get the truth of what happened on that transaction. That's all what we're interested in.
Let's leave it there for tonight. Phuthego Mojapele, aviation expert, and Collett Manaka is with Werkmans attorneys.